did was set up a table.
Hey, what's up, man? Like, oppressive hell. You feel me? Like, it's a crazy day out here. It's you feel me? Hold
on. Look at that ratio. One table. Well, it's supposed to be one table versus a sea of phones. I mean, you hear it. Basically, black power chants. People chest to chest, cops weaving him out like a VIP extraction right now. It wasn't even a debate. That's a shutdown. If your ideas are stronger, you don't need a mob, right? You need a microphone. Now, zoom out from the campus chaos to the dark online stuff that popped up and popped off right before the shooting.
And while their article about all of this it was published on Monday, September 8th, it makes clear that the writer contracted for the curse in late August. She says she wanted it to line up with the new moon in Virgo, which this year meant August 23rd. That tracks because she points out in the piece that by August 24th, she was waiting impatiently for results. The witch, they reveal, promised on August 23rd that, quote, you will see the first results within 2 to 3 weeks. This was 18 days before Charlie was killed. Not satisfied with this curse, the amped up one alone, Jezebel reached out to a, quote, third witch, Priestess Lilin. Jezebel opined, if enough people cursed a single person, would the results be stronger? Quote, when I asked her if she'd noticed more political figures being targeted these days, she said yes. The next day, Lilin sent the Jezebel writer proof of the hex she had cast, quote, a photograph in flames, the edges slowly curling inward, engulfing Charlie's ridiculous, scrunched up little face. She whispered, I imagine, writes the Jezebel reporter, trust the unseen. Chills, writes Jezebel. Sunday, August 24th passed, writes the author, and nothing. Monday, August 25th, still nothing. Tuesday, August 26th, nothing. But then she writes, she reminded herself, this is witchcraft, not Amazon. The forces operate on their own schedule. The Jezebel writer ends the piece as follows. So, did my Etsy curses work? Time will tell. The forces move in mysterious ways. And as the priestess Lilin reminded me, spell work is a collaboration between the caster, the client, and the universe itself. For now, we can only trust in the timing of the great unknown. To you, Mr. Kirk, may the rash come swiftly.
Whew, all I can say is stay prayed up, y'all. God, keep me covered.
2.5 weeks after those curses were requested and cast, 2 days after Jezebel published that article, Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet. I know what you're thinking. This is a bullshit Etsy curse. Why are we spending time on this? I'm going to get to that in a minute. Stay with me for now. After the shooting, Jezebel took down the article, quote, on the recommendation of our lawyers. They underscored that the piece was meant to be humorous, intended as satire, and that they made clear they wished Charlie, quote, no physical harm, which is not the full story now, is it? At the same time, they said of the article, quote, we stand by every word, which means they did want him cursed. They wanted everyone to hate him. They wanted it to be powerful, and they wanted Charlie, quote, punished for years of regressive rhetoric. They also made clear that taking down the article was, quote, driven by an abundance of caution for our staff. In other words, they were worried about violence against them by Charlie Kirk supporters. They also, they wrote, wished, quote, to avoid the piece being misused in a tense and volatile environment. There was not, they made clear, any change in their editorial and judgment. In fact, they emphasized, quote, we may republish at a later date. They then rambled on about the country's gun problem and the heated political divide in the country and free speech, noting they do not actually condone political violence. Now, again, you may be saying to yourself, why are we talking about Etsy curses? None of this is real. Well, two things. First of all, Christians are opposed to casting spells or trying to contact the spirit world, not only because they believe there's only one God, but because they acknowledge the existence of the devil and evil spirits. Here is Father Mike Schmidt. He was on the day Charlie died, helping us through that as well. But he came on our show first time a couple of years ago, and here he is discussing this very subject.
The motivation behind the Ouija board is actually something where I'm trying to contact spirits. And someone could say, well, I'm trying to contact nice spirits or good spirits. And the unfortunate thing we know about is that, yes, when God created angels, he created angels. They're good. They're beautiful. They're in harmony with him. But also we know that a number of those said no to God. A person who's reasonable would say, but I'm just playing. And I would say, I completely understand that. And then I would say, at the same time, you remember the movie The Exorcist?
Of course.
Yeah. How can you forget it? So that story is based off of two true stories. And one of the true stories is, I believe, about, if I can get the details right, is about a young man who was at, kind of like a birthday party, some kind of celebration of some sort with kids. And they just busted out the Ouija board and just played for fun. But that was an entry point for what ultimately became a possession.
In other words, you're playing with fire, messing with this stuff.
Yes.
There actually are demons in this world. Calling up the spirit world, in particular the devil's spirit world, can actually have real world consequences. It's not something to mess with. Many Christians believe this. This is dangerous. It's not a game. It's literally evil. Second, this is what I really want you all and the people at Jezebel and Etsy to know. Erica and Charlie Kirk heard about these curses, and that news genuinely rattled Erica in particular. She knew Christian teaching on the subject. She loved Charlie, absolutely. And she was scared when she heard of the curses Jezebel had called up. So much so that she and Charlie contacted a friend who I believe she said was a Catholic priest, but definitely a friend, and asked him to come over and pray with them over Charlie the night before he was murdered. She eventually worked it through, and so did Charlie. That, as she later told me, weapons will form but not prosper. That Satan and those witches have no power. Of course, God's will is the one that matters, and his blessing over Charlie was real and palpable. All you had to do was spend time with Charlie to know that. But why torture a family like this? Seriously. A Christian, believing family. Why do this vile thing to a young couple, parents to two babies, living in accordance with the gospel, deeply in love, yes, political, but doing nothing other than speaking publicly about their views and their desires to make other people's lives better? Who would do such a vile thing? Jezebel. That's who. And unbelievably, Etsy.
Whether you think curses are satire or sinister, the point is intimidation culture. Something I think I heard her say, we pay for multiple curses. Then Erica is rattled enough to call a friend to pray over her husband the night before he was killed. Like I said, even if you don't believe in spiritual warfare, you know psychological warfare when you see it. The message is shut up or else. And when that becomes normal, you get regular people talking like this next clip. Raw, unfiltered, and dangerous.
Charlie Kirk was killed, and Pops asked me, he said, young man, what do you think about Charlie Kirk getting killed?
What do I say about it?
Yeah.
We got kids get killed every day. He got killed. He got killed because of the things that he said out of his mouth. He got killed because he hurt someone's feelings by the things that he said. And someone don't, so he eliminated him. He got killed. You get killed every day. Why did Martin Luther King get killed? Because he said something. Why did Malcolm X get killed? Because he said something. Charlie said something, so now Charlie dead. So now everybody said, man, Charlie wasn't that type of guy. He loved God. He believed in God. No, he didn't. And y'all don't either. That's my philosophy of it. Because if you believe in God, you're not going to speak bad on nobody. If a man want to be gay, that's his business. Be called black scumbags. Call the people in the White House, call Jasmine Crockett an ape. What kind of people do that?
He got killed because of what he said. That's the casual acceptance of political violence talking. We're so numb. Folks treat assassination like it's a weather forecast at this point. Disagree with Charlie Kirk all day. That's America. But the second we justify bullets over beliefs, we traded rights for rage. I don't got time to sit here and even point out the lies that we just heard either. They were pretty obvious. So, how do you cut through all that poison? Here's the thing this country hasn't tried enough. Actual forgiveness.
I don't care how you feel about Charlie Kirk. I don't care how I feel about Charlie Kirk. But what we will do is stand for what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And that's the type of person that you are when you follow God's path. But one thing I will say, Charlie Kirk's wife got on a stadium in front of millions of people that's hearts was hurting just like hers and said, that man, I forgive you. Do you know how strong of a woman you have to be to forgive somebody? This is not about, I ain't into that debating stuff. This ain't about debating. This ain't about race. This ain't about color. This ain't about how much money they had. It ain't about none of that. It ain't about what he said. Everybody has a right to speak what they feel. And yes, we may disagree. We may not like what they have to say. But it ain't nothing right about killing nobody. But she got on that stage as a wife and knowing that her children lost their father. She's lost a husband and she said, I forgive you. That is a deep conversation that she had to have with God first before she did that. That is a strong woman. And I'm praying over her family. I'm praying over her family. Guys, pray. It's nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody, but pray for them.
Amen.
That's the best you can do. But one thing I will say that she always has to walk with. You can forgive somebody, but you'll never forget it.
Ever.
Have a good day.
I mean, read the room. A widow with kids stands up and says, I forgive you. And that doesn't erase justice. It resets the temperature. It tells the mob, it tells the media and the algorithms, you don't own my soul. You don't get my hate. If you're for actual debate, prove it. If you made it to the end of this video, let's put respect to Erica. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.